Hey everyone, welcome to episode 7 of Viewer Game Review. So for this episode, this is actually one of my viewers' grandpa, one of his games. So yeah, we'll review that. And as usual, if you'd like me to review one of your games, feel free to leave a comment of the PGN in the comments. So yeah, let's get started here. Okay, so e4, c5. So my viewer's grandpa is playing with the black pieces here. Okay, so we have an Alpine Sicilian, d4, knight c6. This attacks the d4 pawn. Okay, knight f3 defends it. This is, I think, one of the main lines. Bishop e2, taking, e6. Okay, yeah, it's an interesting way to play. I think the most familiar versions I'm with are like with bishop g4 and bishop f5, but yeah, e6 looks good. Knight e4, okay. So I actually, knight e4 is interesting because it kind of makes it so after knight c3, you don't have to move the queen back, right? If you play something like, let's say, bishop e7 here, after knight c3, your queen has to move back. So yeah, knight e4 is interesting. Knight c3 takes, and bishop e7. c4 makes sense, queen goes back, and bishop e2. Okay, so yeah, I think black's position is actually not bad. Yeah, I was going to recommend bishop f6 here. There's pressure on d4. It's a bit hard to play d5 right away, so rook b1 makes sense to defend the bishop, so that d5 is maybe an idea. Okay, b6. So looking to fianchetto the bishop, which also makes sense since the queen is on d7 and the pawn is on e6, so it's kind of blocked on this diagonal. D5 takes. So I think takes is actually fine because after pawn takes here, attacking the queen, black can trade queens, and then black has time to retreat the bishop after the queen is recaptured. So that actually works out. But we have rook takes b2 instead, and a knight moves. Yeah, reasonable move. I think taking here could be a little bit dangerous, considering black's king is still in the center with bishop b5 also. So yeah, you don't really want to allow this bishop to b5. Okay, d6, knight has to go back somewhere. I'm thinking maybe if like knight f5. I think if knight f5, then I guess knight f5. If knight e5, then probably black can just take this. So maybe that's okay, but knight c6 is played. c5. I like c5 actually because this you're trying to kind of prevent black from getting their king out because there's a threat here, and if you take, then bishop b5 is annoying, so it's interesting. But I like this decision, just castling anyways, giving up the pawn, because if we go for this, then this is hanging, right? So that's maybe a problem for white. Queen a4. So trying to set up this pin, I think. And if black takes it, I don't think we can allow this. The only move here would be maybe, yeah, the only move here would be bishop b7, but then I think knight e5 here. And white wins a piece, I think. So probably black cannot allow that. So bishop b7. And now knight e5 is still a threat. So yeah, unpinning here makes sense. Rook d1. So if d7 with the idea of take and then knight e5, I guess here it probably doesn't work because there would be queen d4, and the rook is attacked, and the knight and the queen, so that probably defends. Although there might be this line like this might be kind of tricky, but I guess at the end of this line probably. Black's still up a pawn, so that probably doesn't work. Okay, so yeah, I guess d7 is maybe not played. Rook d1 takes, rook c1. Okay, and I guess this is kind of a threat, and you can't really go knight d4 because then there's still a pin on with the queen here. So rook d8 makes sense to try to take here. Queen d1, a6. Forcing the bishop back, knight a7. Okay, so It's an interesting play here. I think, yeah, it makes sense because you kind of want to open this bishop, just so that, because right now with the knight on c6, this bishop is kind of not really doing much on b7, but when you move the knight, which a7 is kind of the only square, I guess you could also go to b4, but actually no, you can't because there's still this pin problem. So yeah, knight a7 makes sense. Knight e5, f6 forces the knight away, d7 intermezzo, so the queen has to move, c7 makes sense, and then the knight has to move now, and I think taking here, but then that hangs this, so never mind. Okay, so yeah, the pawn is still off limits, so c4. I'm wondering about this. I guess there's, yeah, I'm wondering about this line with takes and bishop to a4. I guess if queen recaptures here, queen takes. It's interesting. I think that probably is fine, because if takes here, then black is up a piece, right? So I'm thinking, yeah, bishop c6 is also interesting. We can check with the computer after. So c4, queen g4. Okay, that makes sense. That's actually a very nice move to attack two pawns here. There's bishop d5 here. That's a good move. Knight f4. So yeah, this is actually a very complicated position because there's also c3 here, but then d5 is hanging, or e6 is hanging. Okay, knight b5, blocking. This blocked this, so this makes sense. Threatening mate here, so I guess probably the queen cannot take here because there will be knight takes f6, and if the rook takes, probably still this, and yeah, probably black would have to go for that, but let's see. Yeah, takes. So we have this line. I don't really see anything better here for black because you can't really, I think like this g6 is like even much worse because you're gonna probably just lose everything here, honestly, because this is, I don't know, it's complicated, but yeah, I don't think this is probably, you don't want to go g6, right? You don't even, white doesn't even have to take here right away. So yeah, I guess rook takes d7 makes sense, and there's a threat here. This was my first idea, because c3, if we do all these trades, then there's c2, and the rook is attacked here, and there's no black wins because you have to defend c1, but then you just take the black can just take the rook. So c3 is a nice move. Okay, we do have this line. Okay, so c2 is not played. I'm wondering. So I think c2 wins. We can, oh, never mind. So okay, I see. So if c2, yeah, there would be rook b8. So never mind. And rook b8 here would force, you have to give up the queen here with queen c1, but then the rook can block. So never mind. So yeah, rook c8 makes sense. Takes on a2, goes back. So it's probably equal here. This pawn is very, very strong. The bishop is very well cemented here in the center. So I don't really see huge issues for black. So this is a threat, but there's many, many ways to defend this. You can go queen c6, or even just queen d6, queen e7, counterattacking the rook. Queen a7 also works, because if you take here, then this will, actually, I guess you take this first, because then if you give this check first, then there will be queen f1, and then if this and takes, then there is a checkmate here. Some really nice lines. But yeah, if rook takes, then you would probably oh, okay, it is played. So I'm thinking here, I think, oh, okay, I see. If you take here, then there's rook b1. Never mind. So check, rook b1 would be there. So, and if check, yeah, I don't think this line works. Queen f1, and there's a back rank mate on b1. So Yeah, very interesting. So queen a7. So probably that means like queen c6 would have to be played, or queen e7, or one of these moves just to actually keep this pawn. Probably a move like queen c6, rook b2, and bishop e4. Trying to just hold on to this pawn desperately. But okay, queen e7 takes, and at this point, yeah, probably white is better. Probably not the easiest position to win though, because okay, and white hung the rook, so it's probably not so easy to win this position because the pawns are on the same side, and this bishop is very, very well cemented, but it should be winning for white, maybe with a move like rook b8 to trade. Actually, rook b8 looks well, rook b8 here is a threat. After bishop here, rook b8 here still doesn't work because you can take the rook, and this is defended. So yeah, probably white is barely not in time. If not for bishop here though, I think it might be already lost for black because rook b8 is unstoppable. Maybe like h6 actually, but okay. So go for this, but white hangs the rook, and queen d4 check, h6, queen c7. So this forces the exchange on b8. And yeah, from here it's probably equal. But let's see what happens. Check, king g7, and okay, so that's the end of the game. So I guess this ended in a draw. So very, very interesting game actually. I'm just wondering if black had anything else here. So I don't think there's any tactics here for black. Like queen d4, white can just hide in on h1, and yeah, rook d8 makes sense in that case. And here, I don't think there's anything because you can't trade the rook. If you give a check here, you still have to just go back to defend your rook. So yeah, I don't think there's really anything at the end here. Probably just equal. And here, yeah, probably there's also nothing. Like you could go e5, I guess. e5 would maybe be a try, like going for some tricks here, but not that it really does anything much. Probably just queen, you could check and just go back. So yeah. Okay, yeah, very, very nice game. So let's take a look with the engine, just so we get the game review here. Okay, so yeah, white had the advantage, I guess, mostly. So yeah, this is like the main line here, or one of the main variations. And queen d7 is a mistake. Okay, so I guess you probably shouldn't block the bishop here, but it made sense the way black played with b6 and bishop b7. But I guess it's just getting into some problems with this pin, probably. And yeah, this line with taking doesn't work because you could trade queens first and then retreat the bishop. And probably white is still better with this passed pawn here, but it's not as good. So taking on b2, and yeah, c5 is a very strong move. This is a very nice move. And castling, I think, it makes sense just to not run into these issues with bishop b5. Queen c8 takes, rook d8. Yeah, the computer wants knight to b8, but that's not an easy move to play because you're just undeveloping your pieces, right? But I guess the idea would be like, well, first of all, the knight is attacked here, and there's also rook d8, and the pawn is defended for now, so I guess it makes sense, but it's a very difficult move to find. And a6, knight a7 is very nice. f6, d7, and yeah, queen g4 is also very nice. So I think that this is a very, very high level game. Knight h5, rook takes. Yeah, it's very, very nice game. And here, yeah, the line I was thinking of, like with this, doesn't work because there would be rook b8. And yeah, c2 is a mistake apparently. e5, yeah, e5 is also, this is like the only move apparently, but that's a very, very difficult move to play also because you just want to keep this bishop on d5, right? You don't really want to like play e5, but also it's just giving up a pawn, so it's not really clear what it even does. But apparently this is, I guess the idea is like you can go queen c6 or probably queen c6, and the rook can never attack this pawn easily. Like let's just say h3, queen c6, or okay, so maybe that's not the idea. So okay, queen d2. What about if queen e2, queen d2? Yeah, it's a very, very difficult move, of course. Yeah, so this makes sense. From here, I was thinking queen c6. Oh, there's still this tactic. Never mind. Yeah, I thought this holds because you have bishop e4, but there's still all these tactics with the queen hanging here on c6. So yeah, I guess it's already very difficult. And yeah, I guess from here it's winning for white, but it's very difficult. And yeah, bishop e4 is the only move here, which is very nice. Just attacking the rook. And yeah, I guess I didn't realize that white kind of has to give up the rook here, because otherwise the b rook is hanging. So yeah, I guess from here it's just a draw. And yeah, there's nothing here for black. Maybe e5, but there's even if you get queen f4 check, the king just goes to f2, and probably black has to go for a draw. So yeah, very, very high level game, I think. I would say maybe rating wise, like 2000 FIDE, maybe. Yeah, that would be my guess, 2000 FIDE. And yeah, well, thanks for the game. I really appreciate it. And yeah, if anyone else wants to, would like me to review their game, feel free to leave a comment with the PGN. And yeah, I'd really appreciate if you liked and subscribed if you liked the video. And yeah, until the next one.